So one of the most frequent questions I used to get when I first started posting my mocs on the internet is how I got all the pieces, and I would always reply Bricklink. But then I got to thinking, Bricklink isn't exactly the most straightforward website to use. And since there's somewhat of a demand for it, here is my step-by-step guide on how to make construction figures using Bricklink. I'll go ahead and show off what is essentially the 4-part process of me making mocs, so let's start with part 1. So the first thing I do when I have a mock in mind is I design a prototype using a LEGO digital software. I use LEGO Digital Designer, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend the vastly superior stud.io or Studio. The only reason I'm using Digital Designer is for 2 reasons. One, I've been using it ever since I was a kid, so using this program is just kind of second nature to me. And my gigantic prehistoric laptop just won't run Studio. I need to get a replacement for this thing, but I just really never got around to it. But if you plan on using Studio for construction figures, it should be noted that you need to get mods to get the entire LEGO construction library. But anyway, let's move on to the meat of this video. Actually using Bricklink. So buying construction parts on Bricklink is a little more complicated than you would think. System parts are easy enough to find if you know your LEGO dictionary well enough. Pretty much all Bionicle parts can be found with Bionicle or Bionicle Kanohi masks. But then you have instances like these, which are Technic connectors and not Bionicle pieces, as well as these. And these are Technic lift arms. And CCBS parts have it even worse. Most CCBS parts can be found under either Hero Factory or Large Figure Part. The problem with this system is the fact that what's labeled as a Hero Factory part and what's labeled as a Large Figure part is very arbitrary and seemingly random. For example, the friction adder pieces are labeled under Hero Factory, while these chest plates are labeled under Large Figure parts. But both these parts were introduced in Black Phantom and the DC Ultra builds at the same time. Another example are these wing pieces, which are labeled as Hero Factory parts despite the fact they never appeared in a single Hero Factory set. But there is a much easier way to find the parts you're looking for. If you can think of a set that has the part you're looking for, you can go down to Sets, look up the set you're looking for, click on the thing that says item contains X parts, and then just scroll down to the part that you want. The mock that I'm currently working on uses the Brain Attack Evo helmet, so I'm going to scroll down to that and add it to my wish list. And if you're just looking for a specific mold, you can do the same thing, except instead of adding it to your wish list, go down to color. A nice little feature that Bricklink has is a list showing every set that uses a specific mold, so you can avoid using rare colors if you don't feel like breaking the bank or waiting for international shipping. So now that we've gotten all the parts we wanted, we can go to our wanted lists, go to the list itself, and click on this neat little Buy All button. I have a filter set up so I will only get stores from the United States, because shipping from Europe or Asia can take a few weeks or months. And then I click on the Auto Select button, which will give me the cheapest American stores with all the parts I need. Next, I'm going to click on Create Carts, and I'm going to check out each individual cart. And now I'm going to fill up my cart with some extra parts that I'm usually needing more of anyway, such as these friction adders. So, a couple things with the checkout process. Number one, it's PayPal only. And yeah, that's unfortunate because there are some very good reasons to not like PayPal as a company that I'm not going to get into here, but there's nothing you can really do about it. The second thing that should be noted is that not all stores have an auto pay enabled, so you'll have to check your messages and pay later. Usually sellers will have a pay button as seen here, but sometimes they'll just give you an email to send a payment to via PayPal. Next up, you may see this thing on certain stores that say minimum buy. This is the minimum amount of money or minimum amount of value of parts that you need to buy in order for the seller to actually sell to you. Now, you can message the seller and ask them to sell to you without the minimum buy, but typically I don't even bother. I just fill my cart with a bunch of stuff that I'm already using up anyway. Black long pins and short axles, black CCBS bones, and short CCBS bones. Sometimes I look for cool weapons and armor, and that can be inspiration for a completely different mock. But if you don't want to deal with all that, you could always just try going to another store. Alright, so now that the parts are finally here, it's time for the final step, and that is to open up these packages and inspect them. And I just went and took care of all this off screen because these packages have my address on them, and only Nebula is allowed to know my address. But anyway, I sort this stuff out and then compare it to the invoice on Bricklink, and I see if it's good or not. So I am actually missing one of these, but before the seller went and shipped the order, he messaged me and said that he didn't have one. So he just went ahead and gave me a refund for that part. But everything else is good to go, so I go to the order, change it from shipped to completed, and then I submit changes. And it is very important that you do this, because Bricklink does not automatically do this, and if you don't do this, sellers will get pissed off at you and blacklist you, so you can't buy from them again. But anyway, I go ahead and inspect the other orders, and that's pretty much it for this video. So if this was helpful to you, and if you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, comment down below if you haven't already subscribed, because I plan on showcasing some of the mocks that I've made, like this guy over here. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much everything, so take care.